This is Zoe from Past English GCSE, and today I have another AQA Paper 1 question 5. Looks like a description of the picture. I was sent this text by a student who said, is it long enough? What grade would I get? I've got my mocks coming up. I really want to improve. I've quickly sort of skimmed it and I've picked this image because I think this image relates most closely to the writing, and also for you, the viewer, I think it gives you something to look at so you can imagine as well as reading the text with me. That said, as I skimmed through and I picked a Christmas image, this one really captures, I think, what the student's written. So obviously we'll look at this against an AQA mark scheme as I usually do, but let's have a read first and see what we think of it. Okay, here goes. Awaiting the awakening screams of joy and excitement, the sacks sat on the floor. So I love the personification here. Sacks which were bought admiringly with tender hands and warm hearts. All the shapes and colours of joy glimpsed anticipatingly towards each other, expectant of great adoration when each was unsealed. Flickers of light swam from place to place, reflecting their magnificence against the gleaming stockings, from the reflection of sunlight in lakes, or when it brightens the most stained puddles. I really love this opening. It's vivid, it's really descriptive. Perfect. Really good. I can imagine the light and the sacks. Do you mention stockings? You do here. Yeah. Beyond the sacks, further than the stool, which had the proudest owner, out of the translucent stained glass window, glorious elements filled the rejoicing landscape. Oh, okay, so there's somewhere to sit. Somersaulting, leaping and gliding from one hillside to the next, light rays filled the festive scenery. Specks of ashy crystals twirled down, greeting the lounging flakes, covering the pasture in a blanket of deep affection. Oh, I like that. Specks of ashy crystals, lounging flakes. I feel like I want something about colour here. Covering the pasture in a blanket of deep, you could say, just because of white snow. I see something. I feel like I want a colour there. I really like it. In a chant of heavenly jubilation, the church bells chimed the pattern of the hour. People lined the chapel entrance, trusting that they will be seated on a comfortable pew, hoping they will be surrounded by the warmth of their loved ones. Arms flung upwards, eyes staring at her elders. The girl stood. Okay. This sentence is awkward. Up to here, it's absolutely perfect. Arms flung upwards, eyes staring at her elders. The girl stood. It's almost, there's something lyrical about the quality of your writing, which I really like, but this sentence doesn't work. I might take that. The girl stood, and then I would put colon there for equals, arms flung upwards, eyes, and maybe a dash, sort of a comma. There. She was an icicle. So I love the sentence variation here. Auburn, russet hair, embraced her ruddy cheek. So lots of reference to red here. The church looked almost Victorian in design. Or was it old than that? Nice use of question here. Stones placed by our ancestors structured the time-worn frame, a frame which formed the home for many, which minimalized, use an S. I think Z is American, so I say try to stay away from it. It's a minor thing, though. I'm being picky. I can't find a lot wrong with this. It's good. A frame which formed the home for many, which minimalized forlorn isolation, which gave a sense of tranquility and peace to all. Right, I'm just checking this again. I like it. The church looked almost Victorian design, or was it older than that? Stones placed by our ancestors structured the time frame, a frame which formed the home for many, which minimalized. Right. Long sentence. Or was it older than that? Stones placed by our ancestors structured the time-worn frame, a frame which formed the home for many. Full stop. A frame which minimalized forlorn isolation and get semicolon. I fill time because you remember and or but, it can use instead of. Do that there. Look, see? Just little. I'm not doing a lot. It's pretty good. Gave a sense of tranquility and peace to all. The light danced in asymmetrical pastel shades, submerging the benches in a different hue. Pulpit and altar laden with assortments of paper and holly manuscripts. The chapel was awaiting the awakening praises of thanksgiving and exuberant expression. Yep, I was going to put, do I put in ensuing exuberant? But no, that works. A portly man sauntered back and forth. He wore a threadbare mauve jumper over a charcoal shirt which bore a starched collar. Okay, yeah, I think I know who he is. I think this could be developed. I'm being really picky though. You don't, only one or only a couple of sentences, if at all, okay? Not a lot, but that's the only thing I think of. Inside the house, so where are we? We've moved on a journey. We're by a fire. Then we're in a church. And then we're moving to a house. The floor bore the ripped colours and shapes, spreading warmth through the entire room. Oblivious to the slumbered adults, youngsters scampered around the room, laughing and sharing with one alike in the moonlit dusk. Right. This bit here, I want to know how you got there from the church. So maybe a preposition, you've used a preposition inside, but where's the house in relation to the church? Just make it easier for me to get there as the reader. Oblivious. Oh, hang on. Are we gone back? Is this the house and then beyond the sacks? Okay, I think I've worked it out. We start in the house, we've gone to the church, and we've come back to the house. If I'm right, if I got it right, what I would do to do that cyclical structure that I think you might have done, and if you haven't, then I'm giving you ideas, I might make a reference to, see this? I know it looks like cheating because it looks so easy, but actually, oblivious to the slumbered adults, youngsters scampered around the room, laughing and sharing with one alike in the moonlit dusk. Yet, I don't know if you've gone back in time or not, so you'll have to make it clear, but if this is all Christmas Eve, sacks sat on the floor. Yeah, I like that. Look, cyclical. These changes would probably make a grade different. I mean, it's good. Your vocabulary is excellent. Really good. I love exuberant, the church terminology. I love hue for shade, submerging, forlorn. It's very good. Right, you're going to want to know how I grade it now, aren't you? I think it's gone up a grade just with this because the structural, it feels finished by that. Because you said to me, have I written enough? I'd say yes, but you just need this M bit. That's just the little tweak I think you need to make that really good. Okay, so let's have a look at the marking criteria. I'm going to start up here because you're good. Writing is convincing and compelling, confidently matches tap. If it's a description, yes, it does. If it's a story, it's a bit slow. Manipulative. Subtle, extra. Yeah, definitely. I think you're pretty good. I'd say it's highly structured and developed. Right, I think with me adding the little tweak, I think it's probably around an 8. The only thing I would say is pulling it down from a 9, only slightly, to me, it's just this confusion here, this jolt between the penultimate and final paragraph, but I'm being picky here, okay? You could add a little bit more here and add this couple of lines, these couple of lines here. You've got a cyclical structure. I think it feels like a 7/8, if I'm honest. It's good. Let's look at this. Spelling, punctuation, grammar. Did you notice as well that I added a semicolon that you didn't have, and I also added a dash that you didn't have, because I wasn't going out of my way to do it. It just lended itself to doing such. Now, your vocabulary is really good, but if you can have, where you've got a question, that's lovely. You had that before. If you can use, and you've got brackets, good. Have you got an exclamation mark? Be careful about just shoving them in. You haven't, but do you know what? I don't think it lends itself to being there anyway. Vocabulary is good. Your punctuation is pretty solid. There was only a couple, that clunky sentence about the girl and her arms being down, upward, sorry, that bit. I changed that. So I reckon with my changes, if you sort this out, it's an 8/9. I think what you gave me I think you gave me a 6/7, and I say 6/7 because it depends on the grade boundaries that they set and the examiner you get. I know that shouldn't be the way, but people are funny and people have an emotional response to writing. It felt like a low 7, and I feel like I've dragged it into an 8. You've made a real effort, and I can see examples where you've read other books and you have tried very hard to incorporate the techniques here, and I think that's paid off for you. A wide range, yes, you have. Now, it's not, I'm being picky. You can get quite a bit wrong and still be up here. But I think with my help, you're on an 8. Yes, you did. Standard English, absolutely. Accuracy and spec, pretty much, yes. Ambitious vocabulary, absolutely. Extensive, yes. I really liked your work. I'd say if you get it into a really good state, just sorting out these little tweaks, and I mean little, I've only highlighted that because I changed it. And I've added your semicolon. I think if you finish this off, and it will not take you long, be about 5 minutes after watching this video, I reckon, because I've given you some ideas, I reckon it's an 8. So well done. It's really nice for other people as well to be able to look and see, she hasn't written tons, but it's really high level. It's because of the vocabulary. Make something interesting, have your ideas flow from place to place, and then bring it back again. I picked this image, by the way, just on reading it. I didn't pick a church because I came to that later, but you've captured the warmth and essence that I feel is in this picture. So if you're given something like this, well done. It's really good. And I hope this video is helpful to you and everyone else who watches it.